Welcome back. 3D printed body parts are closer to reality than ever before. The Veterans Health Administration's teamed up with the University of Washington School of Medicine to find new ways to use 3D printing technology to help veterans. Dr. Beth Ripley is chair of the Veterans Health Administration 3D Printing Advisory Committee at the VA. Beth, Dr. Ripley, welcome back. Thanks for coming on the program. Last time you were on, we talked about the consultory ways that you and your colleagues are using 3D printed body parts. What's the next generation? What's the next step beyond that for the vets that you're working with?
So that's a great question. We start with that consultation piece, and really that is about showing the veteran, showing the patient exactly what's going on, what the problem is, let's say with their heart, and giving them the opportunity to really be engaged and in control of their health and the decision about it. But it only starts there. So where it could go next is a few places. One thing that we're really interested and excited about is that one of those models could then actually go home with the veteran, and when their family member says, "What did the doctor say?" And, that's the moment when we're always like, "Oh man, what did they say? I don't quite remember." Well, they could just pull out the model, and we could have written on there exactly, this is where we're going to cut, this is where we're going to go, this is what we're going to replace. So it can go with the veteran home and continue that relationship of being able to communicate. But the other place it's going to go, and especially within the cardiac space, is now it's going to go into the lab, and we can look at the ways that different heart valves or different replacements and repairs will interact with that patient's anatomy before you ever go into the operating room. So we can get that perfect bespoke fit for the veteran before they ever walk into the operating room.
One of the things that I've learned in the reading I've done since you've been on the program the last time is that, number one, everything, as you say, is customized to the individual patient. And number two, I had this image in my mind that 3D printing resulted in just basically plastic pieces, and the textures and nuances of the individual pieces that you can make are pretty much limitless, aren't they?
Absolutely. There are thousands upon thousands of materials that you can print with, and it's growing every day. So tomorrow is going to be 20 more. And we're very interested in trying to mimic the material properties of the body, because again, it's not just the shape, it's the way that your body reacts to different things. And so in the heart, you've got squishy parts, you've got stretchy vessels, and a lot of patients have a lot of hard calcifications in the heart too. And we really want to be able to mimic all of that so that we know exactly how these new parts, let's say a new valve, fit in there. And that's something that's so complex that it will be really hard to model that with a computer, even with AI. And so sometimes just holding in your hand is the best way.
What are the intersections, though, of some of those cutting-edge technologies that you mentioned, like artificial intelligence and so on, with what you're doing with 3D printing? What does that mean for the future of the technologies that you're working with, Dr. Ripley?
It's all interconnected. So AI is going to help us be able to segment or extract the data better. What we find when we test with models, we can feed back in as data into algorithms to try to understand, to a point where maybe we don't need to print. And also, I think, just trying to understand disease better. It's in the news right now all the time when we're thinking about new treatments, new medications, et cetera, and we're trying to test it and see how it's going to work in the population. If you can really nail down all of the diversity of the population and you have access to all of the data of a much larger population and AI, we can get better at really understanding how some of these new devices or treatments will interact across a broader population, and hopefully in the future we'll do it faster and safer.
We have just
not yet, but we'll get there.
And we just have a couple of minutes left, and that's where I wanted to finish, is the stuff that you're talking about now, you've told me before, is stuff that you were thinking about 3, 5 years ago and longer. What are you thinking about today that you can't do yet, but that you anticipate being able to do a couple of years out?
Oh, we're very interested in printing organs that actually go into the body. So we've been talking about models that help us know what we're going to see when we get into the operating room. The next generation is models, not models actually, but parts that are going to go into the patient. And we're actively working on bone, being able to print living bone, vascularized bone. And what you could do is print that in the exact shape that you need to fill a defect. And we're hoping that in the next 2 years, you're going to see that in VA in patients. So stay tuned on that.
Pretty amazing stuff. Dr. Beth Ripley, congratulations on your Service to America Medal, and thanks very much for joining me. It's great to have you back.
Thank you so much.